in Wales, which is the, I guess, creative and spiritual home of the television series as well as Battlefield. So welcome. I hope you're all having a great fun. It's slightly different to Philadelphia, I'm sure. But it's great to see so many familiar faces in the audience from last year, which was such a great experience. So it feels like such a momentous day today because we wrapped at 3 o'clock last night and we filmed the very first scene of the very first episode of season 2. I would love to tell you all about it, but it's a secret. So I'm here with some of the key creatives who have been tirelessly working on the show over the last months and last years actually, because all of the guys you're going to meet today were part of season 1 as well. So without further ado, I'll introduce you to, first of all, Sarah Arthur, who's our costume designer. Gareth Selling, our location manager, supervisor, and last but certainly not least, James Watt, our production designer. So I guess a good way to kick it all off really is to just ask, one of the big questions is, obviously we're making the series in Wales. So, here's a question for Gareth and James. What was the most challenging location to find in Wales?
Venice. When we get those initial drafts of script through and go through the page, cruising on the canal of Venice, how much money do we actually got? And then we got to go then, and then we get to Madison County. I think, we could probably do a little something there, but then I flip the next page and we're Sept-Tours in a castle in France. And I'm thinking, James has got a bigger budget than I have because we've got a bit of work to do, yeah.
Madison County was a good one though. We prepared for this. Don't worry, I'm also head of technical today with my computer. So when we first get that script, I suppose to explain our logic and how we work, we start by doing visual referencing. So just as when you read the books, we read the scripts, but we have to try and get what's in our heads down onto paper. So we start by research and reference, and whether that's going on little trips and taking photographs, or whether it's searching on the internet trying to find pictures. So this is how we started with our images of what we felt the Bishop House looked like. Obviously, when we're making an adaptation, there's some things which luckily Lapland decides are either not achievable or aren't going to be very easy for us to retell. So shape-shifting houses luckily sort of fell by the wayside, thankfully. So I sat down with my guys and with Gaz and stuff, and we decided that we wanted the house to feel and look like this, and this was what we were trying to recreate. And we talked a lot in depth about where in America that was and what it looked like, because neither of us had been to that part of the States.
Neither did we get a trip there.
No, we didn't get a trip, no. So we...
I think for David, this is great to be part of the process as well, because we would heavily quiz Deb on everything and anything to do with Madison. So, we'd be... Well, I'll let you...
Yeah, and it's interesting that, because what's great about the books is that because Deb has based all of these locations on real places, and so the Madison house is like just like the house that Deb was brought up in, and then we go to like the castles and Sept-Tours and stuff, and she's been to a castle in near there, which is exactly the castle that she would like it based on. And sometimes that's brilliant for us in that it's just a great guide, and we can just go to that place and we can do it and it's easy, but sometimes it doesn't necessarily make sense from a filming point of view, so we have to change things and with reimagine what those places are like. So when we said to Gareth, we've got to find a landscape that we can then build a house in, I was like, he's never going to find Madison County in Wales. And if you head out of here on the A48, you get like 5 miles that way, and then Gareth typically found upstate New York within 10 minute drive last year. So this was the very initial location scout that we did. That's JC Medina in the bottom right, who was our director of our house. And this is where we decided that we were going to build our Madison house, but obviously we had various other problems with the time of the year and the seasons.
I think that's a big key is to really sell New York and hit it in the fall is to get those lovely colours and browns and oranges and get those leaves on the floor. And I think we were lucky enough to manage to nail that at that time of year initially. For the first time we visited it, we were at the right time of year. So those magnificent first shots, we did it for real. And after that, due to the nature of how we film these things episodically, we were back there in January, and that became a little bit more of a challenge. And James had a warehouse full of leaves.
There's a great line in the series where Diana says, "Madison in the fall, it's the best Madison ever."
Yeah.
And that was in January. It was raining and it was wet. But I guess part of it is also working with the location we found in America, which is Madison itself. So we did a drone unit that we did establishing shots of the car, and then we cut from actual America to Wales.
And I think at that time of year, Cardiff Council were really on our side, because all of James's team were out with bin bags and wheelbarrows sweeping up all the leaves in the park. Put them all in backbags and kept until we get back to January, where he scattered them all over the floor again.
So this is what we wanted to do. So we wanted a little barn, which we'll come to later on, and we want a house. And so we were like, right, Lachlan, this is what we're going to do. We're going to build this massive house in this field, really. And Gaz was like, yeah, we're going to have toilets and security, and we're going to have to build a road to get in there, and obviously we have to like cut our cloth accordingly. So this is what we wanted to do. This is how we start our process, and we do sort of quick elevations and drawings like this, and then we take it into a much more detailed, boring world of construction and structural engineers reports, etc. Obviously we haven't got all the money in the world, so this is what we ended up doing was actually just building one half of it. So we only built the ground floor. So when you see it as a 2-story, or 2.5-story, 3-story house, it's we didn't build all that. So that's how it starts. Look, there we go. Look, we sort of marked it out on the floor, decided we're going to take some fencing out and stuff. It's still nice and sunny, and the grass is nice and green. People start arriving, we start building. You see a bit of a framework there on the left-hand side. This would have been on our first initial recce. So this, bless them, this is the crew turning up to look at what they're going to film in like 6 weeks' time and work out where all their shots are. But obviously, we haven't built it, so they're just looking at the space. And then we start putting it together. So that's sort of as high as we go, just with the ground floor. So this obviously takes a few weeks, but we work pretty quickly. We build really fast. So that's all we ever built of it. Then we dress it. So we've got a brilliant team of set decorators and dressing prop guys and stuff. So we would do a lot of research into what the garden looked like and what else would be there and what would be on the veranda, etc. So we dress all of that. So that's what we had, that's what the film crew turned up to. So those little red poles that you can see are just guides, so that when in post-production, in CGI, we make it a bit bigger. So that's how that works. It's a long-ish process in planning, and then the actual build itself is quick. But we were there for what, 6-7 weeks or something building, Gus?
I think we were probably, in the build, but then obviously between episodes we walk away and leave it there. So we've got to board it up and make it safe and do security and all that sort of thing. So I think it was probably there for, during the filming, it was probably there for 7 or 8 months, and then we made the decision to leave it, whether we see it in episode 2 or not. In season 2 or not, even.
So, yeah.
I'll leave it there.
So that's obviously what it looked like in reality once you saw it on TV. And then they were like, oh, then we've got to go to the barn. And we're like, oh. So we'd run out of money by then.
It's the beauty of doing a magic show.
Yeah. So I said, right, Gaz, you've got to find us a barn. We want one of them. And so Gaz went out. What did you do, Gaz?
Came up with this.
the Gaz found that, which was an old, what was it?
Well, it's a bit of a cheat really, because when James showed me the initial image, I built that for a Netflix film called Apostle, which is a horror film, and I knew I'd left it in the woods. Give me a few weeks, I'll have a date, I'll go out and give me a few weeks, let me think about it and do some miles, I'll come up with something. So I went on holidays for a week, went down the pub, and then I took him there, and that's where we ended up doing.
So we obviously did a little bit of work there, just to make it feel a little bit more in keeping, so we did that to it. And obviously, by which point now it is winter, and this is like a good couple of 100 metres off any kind of dirt track into the woods. So by the time we shot there for 2 weeks, it was a mudbath, wasn't it? It was unbelievable. It was quite a horrible place to be.
And it was all shot at night, all that sequence, it was January, it was cold, it was bits of snow around and frost, and it was all at night till 5 o'clock in the morning. So, that's what a lot of people don't see and realise is what, as a crew, we all sort of strive to do, and the safety implications that go on there, and the planning and how we get people in, and more importantly, how we get them all out safely. So, it's a challenge, this one, really.
We're quite lucky, I suppose, as a department, because we get to do all the fun stuff without the film crew around, and then we stand there and all the film crew turn up with all their cameras and all their beautiful costumes and all their kit, and then we go, right, see you later. Just like so what happened last night, me and Gaz have been out yesterday scouting various locations, and we got back to the studio at 6 o'clock, and all the film crew turn up, and we just get to have a bacon sandwich because it's their breakfast time. A bacon sandwich and wave goodbye, and poor Lachlan and Sarah and the guys have to sit in the studio till 3 o'clock in the morning.
And I was going to say, obviously the costumes play such an important part in the series and dramatise Matthew and Diana's relationship. But I guess one of the questions I wanted to ask you was to do with the inspiration for some of the costumes. So, for example, in season 1, we've got Matthew and Diana dancing in Scepter, episode 5. And it was, just if you could tell us a bit more about your inspiration for the design.
Well, we wanted Diana looking beautiful, but it wasn't a preconceived costume because they'd gone off fairly quickly. And she had to do a number of things whilst in it, as in run out of the house and it was pouring with rain. So it had to be practical as well as beautiful. So that's why we went for this outfit behind us, the jumpsuit. And she just looked, we wanted a natural feel for her, but something that was dressed but not preconceived. So that's how this outfit came about.
I know it's an unfair question to ask, but is there any of the characters in particular you enjoy designing for?
Well, I think I love all the characters, but I love doing the various creatures, the vampires, the demons, the witches, and individualising them so that we, or you as viewers, can see who is what, hopefully, by a little bit with their costumes. But I think my favourite, would be Isabeau. I do love them all. Of course, Matthew and Diana, fantastic.
The purple dress with fur collar. Oh, great. So, James, just come back to amazing sets and games and so on. Did you have a favourite from season 1?
Yeah.
Let me guess.
Well, there's two really. The interior Bishop House was always fun, which was great for us. So it was that was a big old space to build. So that's in the studio. So there's the set outside in the field, and then you go in through the door, and this little bit of kitchen here, which you could see. So you would come in, and that little bit of kitchen is out in the field, so we get really good views out the window. And then back in the studio is all of this stuff, and that kitchen is built again. So we end up with a good transition between, so that's the trick really, and sort of between what Gareth does and what I do, it's transitional spaces that are what fool you lot into thinking that it's all one space. So if we can do more than just doorways, and we can double a particular corridor or a door or a hallway or that initial room between an interior and exterior space, if we can double that, and I can even reproduce it in one of the other spaces, then that we can normally fool people. So yeah, that was a lovely space to do. And then of course we had that age-old problem of how do you do the Bodleian Library? But that's easy because it's a location, right?
Wrong, James, wrong. But we went on the road and the Bodleian were very approachable, I think. And were willing for us to use it. But once you get the scripts and you break them down, you realise all of these. You got Owen Teal flying across the room, and you've got wind, and all the books are off the shelves, and it just becomes impractical. And because we only have a small window to be able to go in there, maybe at night or when they're closed to the public, and so it became apparent very early that it was going to fall back in James's court. But they were very, not only to save my budget, it's a very expensive place to go, but they were really cooperative, and I think we went and scanned it, so we had a 3D scan, so we knew how each pillar, how far it was, and how it was built. So James could then not copy it, but put his own touch on it. So he had all the dimensions of the whole place, and then he put his twist on it to make it work for him.
Yeah, we actually worked out quite well because we were allowed to go in and photograph it and scan it, but due to the normal time restraints, by the time we'd got all those permissions and we were ready, we'd already started drawing it. So we started drawing it based on photos that we could find on the internet. Because when you go and visit that place, you're not allowed to take your phone in, you're not allowed to take any photos, you're not allowed to talk. It's quite hard. I'm trying to have a conversation. Going, we should know this bit. Yeah, we should have that. Getting frowned at by the various other witches that are...
Also, I think it was quite a magic moment for Deb the moment she walked into the library, because literally she walked in and then just immediately burst into tears because she just felt she was there again. So I think it was something that meant a lot to her. And the fact that it had been pretty much recreated, scale. So, I mean, it was phenomenal as a set.
I mean, how many books did you use, James?
Oh man, we did 475 linear meters of books. But luckily, about 350 linear meters of that we made out of polystyrene. So it wasn't quite so expensive. So these are photographs here of what our Bodleian was like, which is quite a departure actually from the real place. It's interesting. It feels the same. Like if you go and stand in the Bodleian, then you came and stood in our set. Like emotionally, it feels right. It's got like a proper solid floor. It felt great, and like Philip Pullman came around because we've been doing some prep work for HDM, and I showed that we've been working on these dump materials. And Philip Pullman came around and he stood in the space and he was like, "This is the Bodleian. This is just like it. It's just like Duke Humphreys feels like." Actually, if you look at photographs of what the real Duke Humphreys reading room looks like and what ours looks like, they're not really that similar, if I'm honest. Like they feel very similar, they feel right. So we do a lot of drawings. These are like the simplest of the drawings, I suppose. And then we build 3D models and we take it, and so we create that and we sit around the table and say that's what we want to build, and then 8 weeks later we end up with that. But obviously there's a lot of carpenters, a lot of sculptors, a lot of painters that go into that in order to produce it. And then we built the Duke Humphreys reading room, and then there wasn't enough room in the studio to do the rest of it, so we ended up having to build a little bit of the southern end and a little bit of the main thoroughfare in the other studio, which is what those are.
Thank you very much. We thought it was quite interesting to talk a little bit about season 2. Obviously, hands up if anyone would be really annoyed if there's some tiny spoilers. Anyone who doesn't want to see spoilers should leave now. I mean, obviously what we're going to talk about is hugely confidential because we don't want the information that we're going to share with you going out to the broader public, just to keep the excitement up for the show. But we also want to share some special things with you guys. So I guess the elephant in the corner of the room is it's set predominantly in Elizabethan London. And we're also making the show in Cardiff. So Gareth and James, I guess the first big question is, how do you go about recreating Elizabethan London in Cardiff?
Well, we're very lucky with the history we've got in Wales and what we've got around us. So, I mean, you guys have been here a few days now, you've been out in Cardiff, you've seen the history Cardiff holds, but you jump in the car and you travel within sort of 45 minutes of here and you get a whole range of Tudor, Norman, all. We've got a little bit of everything here in Wales, and that really helps us. And once you go over the bridge into Gloucestershire, Bristol, the southwest that way, then that world opens up again. I mean, I don't like going that way. I get a nosebleed when I go over that bridge. So that's why most of it's here in Wales. But
he's also carrying his passport at all
I do,
times.
always carry it. But we're spoiled for choice, so it's all a matter of James and I, how we can work together. And then, to sort of, I can give James 3/4 of that building, and he puts his touch on it to sell it to you guys, and then we talk to Sarah, and she comes up with some colour palettes that will go with this location. So it's a real collaborative effort from all of the team, really, isn't it, James?
It is, yeah. It's interesting when you said about Deb. We haven't, strangely enough, we haven't got any 16th century London streets in Cardiff. So inevitably that's sort of falling back in my lap, and I'm going to try and find something that I think we can show you. And Deb came to look at it yesterday, and I was like, right, I got 25 minutes. I'm going to chuck Deb in the truck. We're going to fly over to where the backlot set is, and we'll have a quick run round. It'll take like 15, 20 minutes, then we can stick her in a taxi, send her back. So I got there, signed, it's like a proper building site, so we get in, give her a hard hat, flory jacket, the works, and that, give her a little safety briefing, walk her in there, and I turn my back, and I keep talking, and I'm like, yeah, and then this is the square, and this is Water Lane, and this is, and I turn around, and she's not there. And I'm kind of lost, and kind of like checking all the boys were on lunch and that, everyone with all the painters and carpenters and that weren't there, and I was like, where's she gone? And I turned back around through the building, and she's like leant up against the wall, and I go over and she's like bawling her eyes out. And it was lovely, and she'd asked one of the carpenters to get her a chair. my 20 minutes turned into like 50 minutes. And
it was like a dream come true for her, I think she's never seen Elizabeth, it was just, Elizabeth from London in her head come to life, so it was a really special moment for her.
Bless her.
But we have to imagine, bring Deborah's her thoughts alive in her imagination. So it's quite a complex place, is that. So James has to take that from the page, what we get in the books, and then the adaptations from the writers, and bring it alive. And with the scale we need to create 4, 5, 6 different streets that we're going to need, and we don't have an endless budget, so we can only build so much. But we have to make it believable that you've got all this space in London to move around. So it's quite a tricky thing for James and his team to do, to redress and reuse the same streets and where we have to. So hopefully, he'll give you a little sneak of it in a minute.
Actually, what he's doing is magic on his computer. I just wanted to ask you some questions here, because obviously recreating Elizabethan London is one thing, but actually taking our characters from the contemporary times to Elizabethan times, it's a huge change for them, and obviously it affects everything they're going to wear. Now do you want to talk a bit? We've got some surprises for you, which is we obviously can't spoil too much for you, but we brought along some samples of the fabrics that we'll be using, everything from Matthew's trousers to I'll pass it over to you to tell us.
I'm going to put Matthew's trousers on now.
So obviously there's a huge amount of research involved in getting the costumes correct for the Elizabethan London, and Deborah together, with the art department has been a massive help for me also. But I've spent months of every waking hour looking at, there's so much information out there, but also it's contained to portrait paintings, which then you have to decipher and decide were they just in paintings, and so it's a little bit of artistic license with people on the streets, what we imagine them to be. There is research and a lot of historians out there who have got their ideas, and with Deb's approval, we've come up with lots and lots of ideas for the forthcoming Elizabethan side of filming.
Can you show some of the big boards? We've got some big boards which I think we can pull up.
Yeah.
Just to give you a flavour for the process of how Sarah was about designing the costumes for season 2.
So a lot of my fabrics I've had weaved, especially for this production. So, you know, and this is one of, well, these are 2 of them actually. So this is going to be used for, hopefully, Diana's cloak for London with a beautiful velvet lining. But because London was, Elizabethan London at the time was very black and white, so we're trying to...
Feel free to pass it around if you...
So we're trying to bring a little bit of light into the costumes so that everything is being shot with candlelight and so it's quite dark. So we're trying to bring a little bit of, keep it correct, but bring a little bit of lightness into the costumes. I mean, this again is going to be one of Diana's jackets. Lovely embroidered jackets, but again we're embellishing with it as well with various things, and yeah, so it's a long process. We spent a lot of time talking with Jane's art department and their ideas and their colours and their schemes so that we can, and of course they're very big costumes for the ladies, so we have to be aware of that. Yeah, these are Matthew's, we'll try going to be Matthew's.
I'll be explaining those back.
So we've gone with a fabulous doublet for Matthew, not wanting to give too much away, but you know, a doublet was very much a thing of that time, and he's delighted, and I think everyone's delighted with his costume, and he is, and that's the main thing, because he has to wear it, and I think you'll all find him looking incredible. So
just to pick up on the point you were making, I guess that when you're thinking about the series, it's all about the colour palette, and the one thing we discovered through discussions with Deb was the fact that a lot of the costumes, the colours were very monochromatic, quite dark. But it'd be interesting, could you talk a little bit about how you bring out the detailing in the dresses and also work with James and also the direction of photography, because as you were saying, if you've got a flat black colour on the screen, it's going to look really dull. But there's quite a lot of textures you've been using, reflective.
well, if it's just black, obviously, you're not going to see anything. You're not going to see the costumes. So we've got, there's lots of things that you can do, especially with the ladies. The stomachers are highly embroidered and highly detailed, and the collars and the coifs. I mean, it's there's lots of areas to bring out colours, as well as keeping it to Elizabethan London at that time, 1590. But the nice thing about this is because, as with the books, we go abroad. So we're going to introduce other colours for the various places we will be filming in, or not filming in Cardiff, but supposed to be abroad. So we'll be bringing colour, different colourways into that as well to bring it to life.
Sarah, how do you work out where to draw I find this the hardest bit, where to draw the line between what is historically accurate and then forgetting the fact that we're not making a documentary, and where do you draw the line without like sexing it up too much?
This is a provocative question.
Well, on this, depends what the project is. I mean, I'm trying to stay as historically correct with the costumes for this. But of course we have got a new mum playing a leading role in this, so we have to be aware of her requirements. She's got the baby with her. So there's lots of things we have to do to help the filming process along that sometimes gets misconstrued as a mistake, but but it's an intention, yes, an intended mistake, if you know what I mean. But no, it is tricky because, and Deb says herself, there's lots of portrait paintings out there, but it is a bit of a grey area because nobody really knows. So it is an interpretation, and we are making a visual picture. So certainly in the streets, I would want to bring some colour in to vary things, and I think that would be correct. But it is tricky. But you try with a project like this because they were real people, the characters, and so there's lots of references and so you try and stick within those boundaries, within reason. But it's a hugely big period and a very expensive period and a tricky period for people to wear the costumes well, and that's been a little challenge with some of the cast, especially men, because I think they found the trousers especially a little bit comical. We've had to vary
Manage
that side of
expectations.
things. You what?
Manage expectations.
Absolutely, yes.
And then James, did you want to mention a bit about the...
Yeah, so I got a document here. I haven't censored it, so I might flip.
It's quite top secret, a lot of it, isn't it? So you might have to shut your eyes at some point. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, so
Alarms will go off.
put your phones and cameras away. But obviously it's relatively obvious we're going to have to create London. So doing a lot of research into our London. London's not very big in this period. There's like a square mile and pretty much see London done. So it's very different, and quite how we evoke that emotion is very interesting for us, in that Diana feels very hemmed in and it needs to feel really claustrophobic. What you normally do on a period drama is you build a big street that you can have like your horse and cart going up and down and then you have like various little bits running off it, and that's it. Well, we're not really in that world. That's not what Blackfriars was like. We're in narrow alleyways, so we've got to try and, which is a huge challenge because the filming process takes quite a lot of people and quite a lot of space. So we're trying to change things. So we're doing a relatively substantial build, which is built around a location, which Gareth has found us, which we won't talk about where it is, but this is basically what we're up to. So these are early sketches. So so these are what we call like concepts. They're more about tone and emotion more than they are about like anything specific. So this will give you a bit of a...
And James, can you talk just a little bit about how we create the scale of the show as well and your relationship with visual effects?
Yeah, so if we go back to this, for instance, which is really safest process so those black dotty lines are an existing location which Gareth has found us, which is massively helpful. So it's an old set of farm buildings. The red stuff is the streets and stuff that we're building. So all these visuals here are what we're planning on doing. But you'll see that there's these like weird green blobs everywhere. So the green blobs are where we've run out of money. And when we've run out of money, we need help from someone else. So so in the magic of the computer later on, Steph, who is our visual effects supervisor this year, who's a new face who you guys would all love if he wasn't off gallivanting in Italy, looking at what we're going in a few weeks' time. He's going to finish that off. So we design it, we build the model, and we say how to finish off buildings. But again, a bit like the Bishop House, we're only going to be able to build 2 stories. Once we get over that, we're in Steph's world, which is good because he'll be able to give us real scale, and that's what we need to see. That's what I love about this show, is that it feels international and it feels huge. It feels like a big solid presence. Doesn't feel like we're boxed into little rooms. We need that. We need to get outside, and we need the wonder of Venice going down the river exactly the same once we get into...
Is it worth it just to have a quick look at the clip from Venice? Because I guess what James is having to do is to recreate the world of Elizabethan England. Whereas when we go to Venice, here we go. So this is this sequence we filmed when Agatha was arriving at the congregation. So we've got the Salute Other Church on the right hand side, and if we keep going straight down, we've got St Mark's Square. So on the right hand side here, that's the director's boat. The barge in the centre is the crane, which has got a camera on the end of it. And then to the left of that, we've got our hero boat, and we can see Agatha's head bobbing around in the front there. So it's, Venice is the most amazing city in the world, I have to say. It's stunning. But it's not without its challenges because you can't drive a truck in and unload it. So there is a whole rigmarole you have to go through. But you just look at the production value you get there and the scale you get there, and you don't have to build it either. So it's an amazing city. But we just thought it would be quite nice for you to see the other side of Venice and how we bring that all to life.
It's not a small process, is it? When you stand up, like we go to a lot of locations and they're like, oh yeah, we've done filming before. We did like an episode of Inspector Morse 15 years ago, and you're like, you have got no idea what it's about. Because when Gaz has got a massive surplus of stuff to manage.
Yeah. I mean, wherever we go, as we say, this show screams scale. And to do that, we need all these toys, and we need 100 strong crew on a quiet day. And then we start adding these cranes and drones and all these different trucks and weird gadgets that enable us to tell the story in a really big way. But we've got to bear this in mind when we go to Oxford. We try and close Oxford down in the middle of July with all the tourists and just getting in and out of there. It's a real circus. It takes a lot of planning, but we've got to get that right in order to sell it to you guys. Otherwise, you're going to turn off.
We would love to turn over to you guys. Is there any questions you might have from season 1? Since it's you can have a question in season 2.
Well, it's actually concerning the Elizabethan fashions and things like that. Years ago, I had the privilege of being a costume designer who was designing and making the dresses for, and I don't know how to pronounce it in French, but in English it translated Dangerous Liaisons. And she made a comment that she had to be careful with colors because colors were determined by, clothing were determined by rank. And also the weight of the fabric. She said most of the dresses that the actors were wearing, the women, weighed anywhere from 30 to 40 pounds, and one specific dress actually weighed 60. And I was wondering if you encountered that when you were making your costumes.
Well, we're actually making now as we speak. So we've got cutters and seamstresses and tailors making in a workroom on site. It's the middle of summer. It's extremely hot, as you know, and these actors, actresses are in these costumes for maybe 12 hours, maybe longer in a day. So you've got to be realistic with, the cloak, for example, the weight of that cloak made up, I've had to change it slightly because it's just impossible. Diana, Teresa is tiny, and so you want it to look authentic, so you have to cheat a little. So yes, you're absolutely right, and all of those cloths and a lot of the cloths I'm having weaved they're all natural fibres and they're very heavy. So we've had to look at alternatives for various costumes because it's not realistic, to put an actor in a costume that weight for 12 hours. So yes, it's tricky. You want it to be correct, and certainly we have got costumes of that weight, and we will have them, but they will be used for certain scenes where she may only, or he may only be in something for half an hour or a couple of hours maximum. So that's how we have to do it.
And also from a colour point of view, you were saying the other day that you didn't want to be wearing the same colour as the Queen or off the head. So So I guess colour was important as well in terms of the class structure.
And the hierarchy, yes, and Debbie's been hugely helpful with that. So black, of course, was the wealthy colour. The more black, the better. And that was Queen Elizabeth colour. And so so we are trying again, with the staff and servants and the various people that worked in the streets. We are varying the colours accordingly, and of course in the streets we're using colours that would have been dyed with using herbs and grass and mud and various things, and so we are very aware of colours, yes, and try to stick with that.
Video in the back.
So I'm going to cheat. I have 2 questions. But that's me for better. Anyway, first and foremost, the blue jacket look. Where did you get it from? Because I love it.
That was actually,
Therese's blue jacket.
yeah, no, it wasn't off the peg. It was something that was made specifically for Theresa. So apologies. Next question. We may not be releasing it as I know.
It's such a lovely book. The second question, obviously, everybody in this room has read the books, and there's 2 particular pieces in the second book that are quite special to me. I'm sure there's Maddie Slayer's wedding dress, and then additionally, Mary Higgins' shoes. How much did your sort of read the book, or was it like compulsory for everyone on the sort of design team to read the book to kind of inform what this would look like, or is this sort of artistic action?
The book is always a starting point for it, and we discuss ideas with Deb, and it all develops from there. Okay, next question.
In season 1, we got to step into the congregation meeting room, but in the books, it was very nebulous. How did you come up with the concept of that?
We have a finite amount of money, time and resources to spend in Venice. Yeah, so we did that classic thing really where we said this room's got to be magical, and although we did concepts and we grew the island quite a lot, like the island that we see in the show in season 1 is like a fraction of what we've actually designed. The main reason we ended up with that round room is because of the location where we went. There's a huge church in the background, as you know, on the island, and it's got a big dome on it. And within our concepts of the whole thing, which one day I'm sure will be like one of those magic fold-out DK books of like inside, because we've got all of that stuff. So that central chamber is underneath that dome, and we went to various locations when we were in Venice, and the red brick and the worn marble, the white marble, which you see quite a lot around the small area of the congregation that we see. Everything our worlds have to feel very different. Venice has to feel very Venice, and sometimes it feels like we're pushing it too cliche and they're too stereotypical, but actually we jump around so much between London, soon to be, London and New York and France and all the rest of it, and then all the various things that happen in season 2. We've got to be really clear about where we are. I've got to be able to cut from a scene in America to a scene in Venice and go, we're in Venice. There can't be any questions, and all these characters jump around so quickly, they travel such a lot. It's got to be really clear, so we have to be very obvious in our colour choices and in our tonality of what each of those different worlds is.
Thank you. Next question. Yes.
In the first season, I noticed it seemed to be complementary color schemes between the costumes and the sets. Is this something you did plan on purpose? To use that blue here in the set and then the costume?
Both Diana and Matthew's worlds tended to always accent towards blue, partly because of her eyes, and it's accentuated more in the visuals that you see on the television. So once we filmed it all, there was obviously a thought process that went into that. The colour that Matthew's bedroom wall is, the colour of her eyes, Diana's boat, for instance. There's a lot of the jacket. There's a lot of crossovers in bringing that colour in and weaving that through their storyline. And it's accentuated then once we're finished and we're all sat on a beach somewhere. Lachlan's in an edit suite with editors and directors, and they do a thing called a grade on everything. So we have all the picture edit is locked, and then they go through a grade and they change the colour of a lot of things, and maybe it's just like a little bit, sometimes it's colour temperature, but in our case, Lachlan really bravely pushed that grade quite a lot, and that's why it feels so
Yeah, and I think
magical.
great, you also do things like sky replacement, because if you're filming in Oxford and it's just like a really grey day, there's certain things you can do to just brighten up, replace the sky, so there's more character to it, it feels more of our world. Okay, next question.
Sorry, I'm French, so why do you choose an Italian pasta and local pasta?
It's very simple, unfortunately, it comes down to money. Because the way the funding for a television series works is that you want to try and stay in as a limited number of places as possible, because the more you travel, the more money you spend more money on travel than you do on the screen. So because we were already filming in Italy, it just made it so much easier to stay in Italy. And obviously the set tours, it's the Italian castle, and we made sure that a lot of the detailing within the castle, with Deb's advice and help, feels very French, even down to the design of the conicals at the top of the towers and so on. And also the challenge that we've got in season 2 is bringing set tours to life back in the season time, so there'll be some changes coming from that as well.
Can you talk a little bit about the development of Actual 782 and what you did to create that book and make it as natural as possible, and maybe speak a little bit about how potentially it's going to change, or did you build it all in the first season, or what we're going to see in future seasons?
So it starts out with some really long conversations with Deborah, because she knows exactly what that book looks like. It's like to the wire. We had an illustrator with us last year, full-time, who was doing all of those medieval illustrations for us. There's actually a lot more pages in the book than what we really see on the telly. But yeah, we went through that quite a lot. Obviously the book's made up of lots of different manuscript pages from all sorts of different authors in different places. It's bound together by Ashmole. In this instance, what we see in season 1, next time we see it in season 2, we see it in a completely different form. It looks very different. Obviously, it's still the same pages, the same artwork, but it's in a very different state. So we haven't created it yet.
Moving on quickly. I can't quite see up the back, but is anyone on the back got a question? Oh, here we go.
So for all of you, what surprised you about working on this from executive producer onward?
Everything. There truly isn't a dull moment on the show. I mean, I guess the scale and excitement of working and adapting the novel and bringing it to the screen has been phenomenal. And we, with the help of Gaz and everyone at the panel, really, and I guess I also wanted to say thank you to all the people who aren't on the panel, because there's a huge team of people, probably 150, 200 people behind us, who are bringing everything to life. So we mustn't forget them. But yeah, everything. There's so much.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the ambition of the show, and you take the books and you read the books, and then you adapt the scripts, and then from bringing that to life, and how everyone keeps trying to raise that bar and push themselves further. And we've, as James keeps harping on about, he's really boring about not having enough money. It's just how you raise that bar without the money and make it look cooler and sexier, and tell that story on 50 quid.
Yeah, we also want on that subject, we obviously one time Sky and AMC are
Yeah, very,
really
very
big
generous,
partners
Sky.
with us, and especially in season 2, because the difference in the budget for the show of making something which is set in contemporary times versus something that takes us way back to the 1590s is huge. So thank you, Sky.
One of my favourite scenes amongst many, if not all of them, is where Matthew chases Diana in the forest at the end and she flies
real wood, you know, real night, real wood, real mist, real rain and real cold.
And it was about 10 metres away from the barn.
Yeah, well,
Okay, next question. Yeah, this gentleman. A gentleman!
It's a bit of a pipe dream question. I live in Cardiff, so I'm blessed to be able to go to St Fagans on a yearly basis and see how it develops. But the thing that struck me when you were talking was you're looking for locations, these locations just aren't there, so obviously you have to invent. Is there any plans in the future for an immersive experience where, a bit like, I suppose, Disneyland for a while away, but for people who want to go time walking?
I think James is currently building it now.
Just wait till we get this boring filming malarkey out of the way and then we'll start charging on the door.
Yeah, I mean, I think the great starting point would be upstairs with the VR experience, and then extend probably the Disneyland version, yeah.
Some of the other books and TV adaptations, you can see some friction and sometimes outright confrontation between the author and the production. So how do you maintain that relationship with Deb while still respecting your own artistic vision for what you want to do?
It's down to collaboration, because I think we all are hugely passionate about what we do, and Deb's hugely passionate about a book, and we're hugely passionate about a television series. And it comes down to just discussing it, because I think with the novel, you know, it's a medium in itself. It exists predominantly in the first person, which is something that doesn't translate well to the screen. So I think it's about making sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to the characters, their journeys, their themes. So it's collaboration really and talking.